Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for joining Advocates for Community Wellness. It's our Eat Well Cooking Club for Better Health events, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So just to give you all a little background information about us. So Advocates for Community Wellness is a nonprofit organization. We were founded in 2003. We are a faith-based organization, but we're non-denominational. And we consider ourselves a holistic health promotion and nutrition education ministry without walls. We bring wellness programs to you where you live, work, learn, shop, play, and worship. So we're focusing on educating and promoting health, nutrition, healthy cooking classes, wellness programs, and teaching the relationship between diet, health, and chronic diseases. I am today's moderator. My name is Sharia Moore Houston. I'm also the Community Engagement Coordinator for Advocates for Community Wellness. I have over 20 years of experience in the nonprofit sector. I recently started with the organization. I was previously a development manager and office administrator, and I've worked with local, national, and international nonprofit organizations. I've done pretty much some of everything. I worked with special and annual events, office management, fundraising, graphic design, volunteer coordination, human resources, and a few other things. I do have a master's in nonprofit administration from North Park University, and I have 3 certificates as well in nonprofit. So our mission is improving eating habits for a healthier lifestyle, increase longevity, and to have a better quality of life. We do have 3 main goals. One is to increase consumption of vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. The second one is to encourage a more nutrient-rich diet for better health and to reduce risk factors of chronic diseases and illnesses. The third goal is to obtain and sustain a healthy weight through consumption of a more plant-based nutrition. So as we get started, I want to give you all a disclaimer, waiver, and consent. This presentation today is for educational purposes only. It's not intended to replace the advice that you would get from your medical doctor or any other healthcare professional. Our instructors and presenters are going to be advising through their credentials as they teach today. Do take note that if you do decide to go ahead and cook some of the meals that are demonstrated for you today, you may consider whether or not you need to modify those recipes based on your personal health and any allergies that you may have. So we're going to send out the recipes as well as with the ingredients and the instructions. So according to what you see there, you may or may not need to modify. Just a reminder, we are recording. All of our sessions are recorded. So you can turn your video and audio off if you want to. So at your discretion, you can choose to leave your video on or off, as well as audio. So as we are a faith-based organization, we do like to start our sessions with a biblical reference or a scripture. And the one for today is Proverbs 3, 7, and 8. And this is from the NIV version. It simply says, "Be not wise in your own eyes, fear the Lord and turn away from evil. This will mean health to your flesh and vigor to your bones." So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to first introduce our speakers. Chef Karen Crawford Moore is going to be giving our culinary experience. She's going to do an actual meal preparation for us. We're focusing on meals that heal. And this is all, we're in Cancer Prevention and Awareness Month. So we're focusing on that perspective. And then we also have Ms. Regina Hopkins. She's going to be speaking on cancer facts and screenings. This is part 2. This is like a follow-up from last week. So first, Karen is going to come on and introduce herself. After that, Regina will introduce herself, and we're going to go right into the presentation, and Regina will begin. But let's go ahead and get our introduction from Karen. Chef Karen.
Yes, good morning. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here again with you. My name is Chef Karen Crawford Moore, and I have my own personal chef service, TLC Personal Chefing, and you can find out more about that at tlcpersonalchef.com. You can also visit my Facebook page at TLC Cooks, TLCCOOKS. I have been in various roles in food service for over 20 years, starting with food assembly, food manufacturing. I do hold an associate's degree in culinary arts, as well as certificates in baking and pastry and restaurant management. So one of the things I do for my clients currently is in-home meal prep. And a lot of my clients have special dietary needs, or some of them are just plain picky. And then another thing that I do is events, special occasions. I help people celebrate and bring the restaurant experience into their homes and spaces. And then the last thing I do is teach, which is what I'm going to do now is for you today, is give a cooking experience or a live demonstration. So
thank you. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate that. Regina.
Hello, good morning to all. Welcome back. My name is Regina Hopkins. I am the Director of Health Education and Program Manager for Advocates for Community Wellness. I'm a family nurse practitioner. I have a master's in nursing science. I have over 16 years of experience in the medical field with a focus on chronic disease management. I am an international researcher. I spent some time in Bangkok, Thailand, one summer doing research in adolescent health. And I'm also a published author of 2 books, SALT, Sisters Accelerating Lives Together, and As I Grow in Grace, which is a 30-day devotional and prayer guide.
Thank you.
So I guess we can get started with the presentation. February is National Cancer Prevention Awareness Month. So the focus of these presentations is to promote National Cancer Awareness Month. And today I'm going to do a small presentation on some cancer facts and recommended screenings. Okay, so just some cancer facts. Cancer, just in general, just to let you know what cancer is and how it forms in the body. Cancer is the name given to a collection of related diseases and all types of cancer. In all types of cancer, some of the body's cells begin to divide without stopping, and they spread to surrounding tissues. When cancer develops, cells become more and more abnormal. Older damaged cells survive when they should die off, and new cells, healthy cells that should form, they shouldn't. So these abnormal damaged cells begin to produce more cells. They begin to divide without stopping, and they create growths, which are called tumors, that lead to cancer. So just some facts. African Americans have the highest mortality rate when compared to any other racial group for all cancers combined, and also for the most major cancers, which we're going to discuss today. The death rates for all major cancers are higher for African Americans than whites, which is contributing to part of the low life expectancy for African Americans for both men and women. So know your screenings and are you up to date? I'm going to be discussing some the screenings for colon cancer, cervical cancer, lung cancer, prostate cancer, and breast cancer. In addition to that, just sharing some known risk factors for each of the different types of cancer. So if you're on this call today, if you meet the guidelines, the recommendations, and the age bracket for these screenings, and if you have not gotten your screenings, this is an encouragement for you to do so, okay? I mentioned before, I'm going to go over some of the recommended screenings and some known risk factors for each of the different types of cancer, starting with colon cancer. Okay, so colon cancer, some of the risk factors for colon cancer, of course, is age, obesity, family history, if you are a smoker, African-American race, and also diet, processed meats. There have been a lot of more studies now in the past couple of years focusing on processed meats, particularly red meats and your lunch meats. These foods have a chemical in it that's called nitrites. And nitrites are used as a preservative for a lot of deli meats and processed meats. But studies are now linking the nitrites that are found in a lot of the processed foods to increase risk of colon cancer, okay? So which is why if you go to some of the grocery stores, you may see some, if you consume deli meat, now you're seeing a lot of deli meats that says nitrite free, or if you, a person who eat like hot dogs and things like that, you'll see the symbol, the logo that says nitrite free. That's because, there's increased studies that are showing that the nitrites have been linked to increased risk of colon cancer. So screenings for colon cancer start at age 45. Prior to, before the year 2019, the screening recommendation for colon cancer was age 50. However, recent studies have shown that colon cancer is now affecting people at a younger age range. So screenings went down from age 50 to 45, which is concerning because now we're seeing younger people developing colon cancer. So if you are between the ages of 45 to 75 and you have not had the routine cancer screening, I do encourage you to get screened. The 2 types of screening for colon cancer is the first one is a fecal occult blood test. This is simple, a stool test that you can pick up from your doctor's office, collect a stool sample and send it back to check for blood in the stool. But I always encourage people to get the gold standard. The gold standard colon cancer screening test is the colonoscopy. Now, it is an invasive procedure. A lot of people, tend to shy away from it because it's an invasive procedure. But once again, it's the gold standard. And when I say gold standard, I mean, when they do this test, if you have signs of cancer, if you have abnormal growths in your colon, during the colonoscopy, the surgeon is able to remove those polyps or those growths and send them out for a biopsy. A lot of times those growths or polyps are benign, but sometimes if they stay longer, they can turn into cancer. So if you have the opportunity to have the gold standard test to remove something that could potentially turn to cancer, I encourage you to do so versus having the stool kit that only checks for blood in the stool. Next, we're going to discuss cervical and endometrial cancer. Now, endometrial cancer isn't really talked about a lot, but in my own experience, I have found a lot of patients, especially my postmenopausal patients, develop endometrial cancer. Starting with cervical cancer, some of the risk factors for cervical cancer, of course, is HPV exposure. HPV stands for human papillomavirus. A lot of people are unaware of what HPV is, but HPV is an STD that is transferred during sexual activity. You have an increased risk of HPV exposure if you have multiple sex partners. However, what happens is when HPV is exposed into the body, if it stays around long enough, it can make changes to the cervical cells that can lead to cervical cancer. DES was a hormone that was used years and years ago, back in, I think, the 70s and the 60s, that was also linked to cervical cancer, as well as smoking, early sexual activity, and a weakened immune system. These are some risk factors for cervical cancer. Okay, now we look at endometrial cancer. Some of the risk factors are obesity, being postmenopausal, and hormonal therapy. And what endometrial cancer is, if you've never heard of it, it pretty much is the cancer side of the uterus. So the tissue that lines the inside of the uterus, which is called the endometrium, that forms into a cancer. And one of the clear telltale signs of endometrial cancer for women, is only found in women, of course, is bleeding once you've passed menopause. So if you've hit menopause, and menopause simply means if you've gone 12 consecutive months without having a period at all, if in fact you do develop some bleeding or spotting, don't think that it's your period coming back, okay? Once your period is gone for 12 months, you are in menopause. So if you have some spotting or some bleeding after menopause, that is a concerning sign for endometrial cancer, okay? So the screenings for cervical cancer start at age 21. The recommendations stop at 65, but Pap smears are every 1 to 3 years. This slide is old. The recommendations have changed now to 3 to 5 years for cervical cancer screenings. But of course, that varies based upon your test results from the previous Pap smear. So if you had an abnormal Pap smear, you may be asked to come back between 6 months to a year if there was any signs or concerns. For the endometrial cancer screening, if you do have those symptoms, such as the abnormal spotting after menopause, a simple pelvic ultrasound or an endometrial biopsy can be performed to determine if you have endometrial cancer. Okay, prostate cancer is next up. If we have any males on the Zoom meeting today, mostly of our Zoom calls are females, but if we have any males today, or if you, I'm quite sure everyone knows a male, but prostate cancer risk factors are age, race, and also family history. The screenings for prostate cancer, the recommendations start at age 40. Now, some cancer guidelines, if you look up, you may see the starting age of 45. However, the age range for African-American males is lower because they are at increased risk of prostate cancer. So screening recommendations for African-American males start at age 40. And there's 2 tests for the prostate cancer screening. There's an invasive procedure as well as an invasive procedure. The least invasive procedure is the blood test, which is called a PSA. And of course, a digital rectal exam. So males, if you are on the call today, or if you guys know any males 40 and up, if they have not had their prostate cancer screening, this is done once a year, please encourage them to do so. Lung cancer. Some of the risk factors for lung cancer, of course, is smoking, cigar, as well as pipe smoking, exposure to secondhand smoke. So if you have a family member who smokes in the house, although you aren't the active smoker, you are still exposed to the smoke, you are increasing your chances of lung cancer. Family history, HIV infection, environmental risk factors such as asbestos, radon, and the polluted air, unfortunately, are all risk factors for lung cancer. Screening recommendations for lung cancer starts at age 55. A lot of people are unaware that there is an actual recommendation screening for lung cancer, but it starts at age 55 to 75 for individuals who had a history of smoking. And the two screening tests include a low-dose CT scan or a chest x-ray if you are under 55 and you're having symptoms such as coughing up blood, problems breathing, or any changes in your respiratory function. Okay. Last but not least is breast cancer. So risk factors that are associated with breast cancer include obesity, alcohol consumption, never been pregnant, never breastfed, birth control pills, hormonal therapy after menopause, and family history. Now, obesity is linked to a lot of different cancers, and a lot of people, are wondering, well, how is my risk of developing cancer linked to obesity? So what happens is studies have found that when you have extra adipose tissue, it creates friction in the body and also can lead to inflammation. If you have chronic inflammation in your body, the inflammation itself can denature or change the cells. So a healthy cell that becomes abnormal, like we read earlier in the slides, that abnormal cell that hangs around can multiply and divide and produce other abnormal cells that can lead to cancer. Okay. Also, too, if you've never been pregnant or never breastfed, this is linked to the extra exposure of estrogen in your body. If you have a cycle every month, if you haven't been pregnant or breastfed, then your body is producing estrogen. The breast cancer cells tend to feed off estrogen when there's excess amounts of estrogen, which is also why we're seeing increased risk of breast cancer for individuals who take birth control pills, because birth control pills are hormonal, and a lot of the birth control medications, the main source of the medication is an estrogen component. So those are risk factors for breast cancer. The breast cancer screening recommendations start at age 21, which is a simple breast exam. So although you're not offered a mammogram per se, I do encourage my young women to do breast exams once a month to get a feel for your breast. So if you feel anything abnormal, like an abnormal lump or a bump, this is a great time for you to go to your doctor to have it checked out. But mammogram screenings do start at age 40 to 75. In addition to that, if you have a strong family history, meaning you've had multiple women in your family who've had breast cancer, your mother, auntie, grandmother, there's also genetic testing that can be done too to determine if you are at higher risk of developing breast cancer. This is the BRCA1 and BRCA2 gene mutation test. In addition to those testings, there's also the screening breast ultrasound. A lot of women, if you don't meet the age requirement for a mammogram, if you have dense breast tissue, most times they are benign, but there's also a test called a screening breast ultrasound that they can do an ultrasound of your breast to determine if that dense tissue is in fact a concern for cancer. So just staying in line with cancer, these are just some facts. 1 in 8 women will develop invasive breast cancer over the course of her lifetime. And that's pretty alarming. Black women are more likely to develop breast cancer at a younger age and also at later stages with a more aggressive type of breast cancer than white women. Black women have a lower 5-year relative breast cancer survival rate when compared to other races. And Black women are about 40% more likely to die, unfortunately, from breast cancer than white women. There's a lot of research studies right now that are going on to determine why this is so. Some studies have determined that, there's different risk factors that play a part, obesity, lifestyle, is also contributors, family history. But in addition to that too, studies have also shown that African-American women tend to get diagnosed at a later stage, meaning they aren't getting those mammograms at age 40. Some of them are waiting to 45 or later to get the first mammogram. So one thing about these Zoomings that we have, especially when it comes to cancer awareness, we're always encouraging early screening and detection because early detection and screening saves lives. So if you are approaching 40 or if you're at the 40 mark or you haven't had your mammogram, if you fall between that age bracket, I encourage you to do so to get your mammogram, okay? To follow up that, centered around breast cancer awareness, Advocates for Community Wellness is launching a pilot program called Along the Journey, Breast Cancer Awareness and Survivorship. This program is sponsored and funded by Gilead Sciences. The program will start early April, and there's 2 components to the program. The first component is to do awareness education in underserved communities. We are targeting Auburn Gresham, Inglewood, and Roseland to do awareness workshops to encourage individuals to get their mammogram screening, promoting healthy lifestyle to decrease risk. The second component is we're going to invite women who are currently living with a breast cancer diagnosis, particularly triple negative breast cancer, to partake in a free 9-week survivorship support course. And this will be a virtual course where we're going to be offering nutrition sessions on foods that fight cancer and meals that heals. We're going to discuss emotional wellness and also fitness, wellness techniques and tips to enhance or to promote well-being to improve survivorship. So if you're interested in learning more about that program, you can definitely visit our website. But just to sum this up, some cancer prevention tips in the kitchen. We encourage you to eat food that are mostly plant-based. Plant-based diet has been linked to decreased risk cancer. Avoiding those processed foods, reduce your sugar intake, eat meat in moderation, getting at a healthy weight, a healthy BMI so that you're not at that level of obesity, eating foods that fight inflammation, the anti-inflammatory foods, and limiting your alcohol intake. Okay. The American Institute of Cancer Research highlights a lot of different foods with cancer-fighting properties. I will put the link in the chat box, but this is a great resource that gives a ton of different foods with cancer-fighting properties. And also, if you click on the picture of the particular food, it gives you a whole snapshot of how this particular food group helps to fight cancer. Just a few foods that fight cancer. I want to just share with you garlic, cabbage, broccoli, kale, asparagus, tomatoes, grapes, ginger, your strawberries, your blueberries. We actually had a great recipe last week on the last call with blueberries from Chef Karen. Turmeric, green tea, your lentils, Swiss chard, chili peppers, flax seeds, lemon, oranges, and avocados, and of course, licorice root. These are just some of the foods that help to fight cancer. And today we're going to be focusing on I think Chef Karen has an excellent recipe for us she's going to share.
Thank you so much. So as Regina was saying, this is Cancer Awareness and Prevention Month. And so in keeping with that, I decided to focus on cruciferous vegetables. And does anyone, I'll just throw this out there, does anyone in our group know what cruciferous vegetables are?
No.
Or the cruciferous group? Can you name one of those?
Yes, broccoli is one. Cauliflower.
Someone said broccoli and cauliflower.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Greens, like collard greens, asparagus.
I never heard of
Okay. Good, great. Okay, we have an astute group here. So I am preparing using broccoli and pepper curry. And then in your mailing, you will also receive 2 other recipes with, one is like a buffalo wing, cauliflower, and the other one is a salad with, I believe, it has cauliflower. It has a bunch of good stuff in there, all kinds of crunchy veggies in there. So for our curry, I'm going to start with preparing quinoa. Quinoa is kind of a staple in the plant-based world because it is a complete protein or very close to a complete protein in terms of grains. So I'm just going to come over here and you cook. This is a. I'll show you the package. This is a tricolor quinoa. So there's brown, beige, and like a black quinoa in this package. So I like that. And I have 1 cup of quinoa, putting in my pot. And instead of just water, I'm using vegetable broth to add a little bit of flavor. And it's gonna bring this to a boil. So it's much like cooking rice. It's, 1 part quinoa, 2 parts water or other liquid or broth. So you bring it to a boil, you reduce the heat, cover it, let it simmer for about 15 minutes. Sometimes it takes a little longer. The package is saying 15 minutes, but I'm thinking it's going to be might be a little longer than that. That's why I want to start with this first. So back to my dish. So in the recipe, there is broccoli, of course, onion, garlic. I want to talk about ginger a little bit. This is just an incredible root to have and to use. Whenever I'm coming down with a cold, I take a piece of ginger like this, slice it up, and make a tea with it, with a little honey and maybe a little cayenne pepper. And that really just, it soothes your throat, open things up, you know, in that nasal cavity. I just can't say enough about it. And it's a whole lot less expensive than that Mucinex stuff. So, and it's natural, it's from God's pharmacy, right? So, I'm going to demonstrate for you how I take the outside peel off. I just take the dull side of a knife and scrape the outside. And that way I get all of the ginger root. I'm just removing literally the peel. So I have some pieces of ginger root I've already peeled. So I'm just going to chop that up. And ginger you'll find in a lot of Asian cooking, African cooking, Jamaican cooking, Indian cooking. This is, I guess I would consider this more of an Indian dish, since it's a curry. And you could also peel this, lob off, throw it in your blender or food processor and chop it up as well. And then, you know, throw it in a mason jar and keep it in your fridge. So there's my ginger. That's ready to go. There's onion. I'm just going to use half of this. And I always cut my onion from stem to stem. I use the layers of the onion to work with me to create whatever cut I'm trying to achieve. So if the stem stays intact, that holds everything together. And then by cutting it in half, it makes it easy to get that peel off. And I'm just making some thin slices. You all let me know if you're having a hard time seeing, and I'll adjust. Okay. So there's my white onion. And I found this wonderful pepper in the store, and I don't know the name of it. I think they might call it zebra. I'm not sure, but it's kind of a mix of orange and red together. So couldn't resist. I had to pick one of these up. And then I just have a regular orange pepper, solid orange pepper. Of course, you can get red, yellow pepper. I know the recipe says 1 orange and 1 red, but if you can't find one of those, you could certainly swap out a yellow pepper or green pepper for that matter. These tend to be a little sweeter in taste, the red and the orange and the yellow than the green. So they're really tasty raw also. And I'm going to come back over here really quickly to my quinoa is boiling. So I'm going to reduce the heat. And you see how they're starting to pop already and curl.
Mm-hmm.
almost like popcorn where it almost inverts. The seed actually pops open as it's cooking. So I'm just going to cover this, reduce the heat, and I'll set my timer so I don't forget 15 minutes. Okay. So the last thing I need to prep is my pepper. And so if you don't like spicy foods, you can certainly omit this, but peppers is another thing. It's good for cold cure. It helps open up anything spicy, helps open up all those nasal passages. So this is a serrano pepper. I like serrano peppers. I think they're a little more interesting on the palate than jalapenos, and it's maybe, it's similar. I think on the Scoville scale, it might be a little hotter than a jalapeno. The smaller the pepper is, generally the more heat it's going to carry. So, and I did put on a glove because you want to make sure that once you've handled the pepper after cutting into it, you don't want to accidentally touch your face. I've done that, and it's not fun. It's not fun. So I'm just going to use a half of the serrano pepper, and I'm leaving the seeds and the membrane in. This membrane here, that whiter part, that carries a lot of heat too. So if you want just a little bit of heat, I would suggest removing the seeds and the membrane. But if you like the spice like I do, then leave it in. Okay, so now we're ready to get cooking here. So I have a pan here, and first thing I'm gonna do is, this is what's common in Indian cooking. They toast their spices. So I have, I think about 2 teaspoons or so of curry powder, coriander, and cumin. So, I mean, real Indian cooks, they would like toast all of the spices whole and then grind them and then toast them. But here in the States, unless that's your lane, we usually take a few shortcuts there. I actually had the privilege of cooking for some Indian students that were studying here a couple of years ago, and they are serious about the curry. Like it's not just curry powder. Like, okay, this curry is they have a curry specifically for chicken, a curry specifically for seafood, a curry specifically for, it was like, wow, I didn't know that there were, and you'll notice with the different brands, like this one is more goldish in tint, some are more reddish in tint. And there's also green curries. I've seen that as a paste. I haven't seen that as a dry spice. So, all right, so I'm just letting this toast for a minute. And I'm gonna add my onion. And this is over a medium heat. I think I'll reach it. peppers. Oh, it's really starting to smell like India over here. Garlic. My ginger. Guano. And the original recipe called for oil. I've omitted the oil in this recipe.
Can you share why you omitted the oil, Chef Karen?
Just to cook in a more healthful way to omit the fat. So basically there's no fat in this recipe other than the exception of the coconut milk.
Okay.
So, and in fact, I was watching Rachel Ray a couple of months ago, and she was saying how, you can actually speed up your sauteing when you're trying to break down the onions and peppers, if you're doing mirepoix or onion, pepper, garlic, that type of thing, by adding a little bit of water. I'm using, this is fresh lime juice. This is the juice of about 2 limes. It's about 1/3 of a cup. I'm gonna add just a little bit of water.
Why did you use the lime juice?
And that does speed things along. Well, it does need some type of liquid, right? You can use water, but lime juice adds more flavor, and I chose lime juice. Dale and I actually had a conversation about incorporating some type of vitamin C to the recipe because this is, our focus is on cancer prevention. So we wanted to represent some type of vitamin C source in the recipe. And I chose lime juice in particular because it's commonly used in Indian cooking. But you could have used lemon juice or orange juice, or you could just use water. But, of course, this imparts more flavor, and you're getting the vitamin C.
Okay.
Yeah, vitamin C is one that is on the list of the citrus fruits with a cancer fighting property, simply because the vitamin C helps to boost your immune system.
Okay. So now I'm going to add.
It looks good.
That smells marvelous. I wish you guys could smell this.
Oh,
I'm going to use, these are whole canned tomatoes. I'm just going to break these up a little bit. I'm going to add my coconut milk.
Once again, this is a broccoli pepper curry, correct, Chef Karen?
Yes,
okay.
That's correct. I'm just going to, no meat.
thank you.
You're still, you noticed that, huh?
Yeah, it looks good though.
And of course, if you feel like, I would encourage you to try it as it is, but of course you could use the same base and add a little bit of diced chicken to it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Poach it, or you could saute some chicken
Mm-hmm.
and add that, or shrimp. Shrimp will be good in there too. I'm just going to bring that to a boil. And then if anybody's noticed, there's one thing that's missing.
The broccoli.
The broccoli. Yes, so the broccoli.
Isn't that good?
Broccoli. Very good. Very
Oh,
good.
there it is.
Whoever said
Put
that.
that in the
Get an A.
oven first. Okay.
Right. So then instead of steaming the broccoli, or it can be kind of tricky with broccoli because it can get mushy on you, or sauteing the broccoli, which would have involved some type of oil. I actually did put just a little bit of drizzle of avocado oil over this broccoli. This is two heads of broccoli that I cut into florets. I put garlic powder, salt, pepper, and just a little drizzle of avocado oil. But you see how nice and crispy it is? So that's gonna, it's certainly gonna hold up nicely in the curry, and it's gonna, give it a different taste and, make it a little different, interesting. So if you want the tips, I did a recording when I prepared this earlier, and I'm gonna post that on my Facebook page this afternoon. If you wanted to see how I prepared the broccoli, you can go to my Facebook page, TLC Cooks, and I certainly throw that in the chat as well. So with that, we are basically waiting for our curry to just let those flavors marry and let it simmer for a few minutes before I plate. So I would like to toss that back to Ms. Regina or whoever else has presentations to make.
Okay, we can pull back up the slides. It looks actually delicious though. So you ready for me to share the slides, Shreya?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're going to be sending out, as we mentioned, we're going to send out the ingredients and the directions. If you didn't get that already, it'll be sent later as well. So you can follow at home if you like. But we're going to go into the next part of the presentation, and then we'll actually circle back and we can see the end result of what Karen's cooking for us. Right now, we're going to go into the nutrition aspect. Like we said, we're because this is Cancer Prevention and Awareness Month, this particular presentation, as a follow-up to last week, we're focusing in on how vitamin C can help in the process of prevention as well. So looking at boosting our immune system, how much we should get daily, and then our variety of options for vitamin C. So Regina's going to do this part of the presentation as well. Regina?
So just a few tips about some of the health benefits of vitamin C, one of the most talked about vitamins, out there on the market. In addition to vitamin D2, I do want to throw out there, vitamin D is also a very important vitamin that's needed to help boost the immune system. Our bodies naturally make vitamin D when we're exposed to sunlight, but of course, a lot of individuals don't get natural sunlight. So people take supplements, but vitamin D and vitamin C actually are great vitamins when we look at the list of vitamins to boost your immune system. Of course, everyone knows that vitamin C helps to shorten colds and viruses. Once again, it has those immune boosting properties. And it also has antioxidants. An antioxidant actually helps to fight off what is called free radicals. So little abnormal cells that shouldn't be in the body that kind of float around. And antioxidants' job is to kind of go out and capture those things and to dispose of them. So your citrus fruits are rich in vitamin C, also have antioxidants in them as well. Vitamin C is not only found in citrus fruits, but in your green and red peppers, your broccoli, kiwi, tomatoes, and Brussels sprouts. And as we see in our recipe today, Chef Karen had an assortment of those foods. She has the broccoli, she has the green and red peppers, and also she added that lime juice as well. So this is just a breakdown of how much vitamin C someone should consume. Women about 75 milligrams, men about 90 milligrams of daily vitamin C, just a recommendation. And this is just some fruits that have vitamin C sources in them. Of course, the citrus fruits, the focus today is focusing on citrus fruits. So oranges, your tangerines, good source of vitamin C, your lemons, grapefruit, your kiwis. Those are some of just these citrus fruits. We tossed in here a lemony salad dressing. as an alternative to some of the processed salad dressings that are on the market. So if you want to take a snapshot of this, we can also send this recipe out too. But just once again, promoting the citrus fruits have those cancer fighting properties, such as the vitamin C that helps to boost your immune system. So this is a great recipe for a salad dressing alternative, which consists of just lemon juice, olive oil, some garlic, and a little salt and pepper. Okay, and just once again, just highlighting the Along the Journey Cancer Awareness Program. If you have questions about that, or if you know someone living with a triple negative breast cancer diagnosis and who you think will benefit from a support program, please reach out to us and visit our website for more information.
So we want to make sure that we keep in contact with you all, that we stay connected. So here's some of our contact information. We are in Chicago. So our phone number is 773-627-0703. If you want to send us an email, if you have any questions, our email address is info@A4CW.org. Visit our website. You can learn more information about the organization, our programs and services. We also post events on the website as well. So just to keep up to date with the upcoming events, our website is A4CW.org. But also follow us on social media. We have a Facebook page and Instagram, Advocates for Community Wellness. That's the page name for both Facebook and Instagram. So we post events there as well. So our upcoming events, you can find that information there. We also post a lot of educational content, especially on Instagram. So make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, because you'll get notifications about things that are coming up as well. So stay connected. And we thank you for joining us today. Thank you also to those who are joining us for the part 2 who were here last week as well. We are going to follow this with an after talk. So we're going to do like 10 or 15 minutes. We're officially ending. We are going to circle back and see the meal. But like I said, we will have an after talk. So if you want to stick around and ask questions, well, it'll last for about 10 or 15 minutes. So, but thank you. If you do have to leave, thank you for being with us. We're officially wrapping up. And then, like I said, we'll circle back for the after talk.